Let me toggle it on. Okay. Okay, so yes, as was the plan was to also record this event. So if you do not wish to be recorded or do not wish to have your camera on for a recording, I am okay if you wish to turn it off, but just as a heads up. Okay, so the format for this event, it will be broken into 3 parts. The first part will be just sort of a quick roundtable introductions from all of the candidates, where each candidate will have about 2 minutes maximum to just sort of introduce themselves, who they are. You're welcome to explain sort of the position that you're running for or any history that you've had with the union up to this point, whatever you think is pertinent to your position. Then we will have about 15 to 25 minutes, I think, for questions, open floor questions from the audience and members. All I ask for the audience and members who are asking questions, please be clear who you are directing your questions to. I am okay if you direct questions to more than one candidate, but just be clear who you're directing it to, and trying to keep questions relevant to the elections and our candidates campaigning. If you have general questions about the union, such as benefits or opportunities available to members in the union, those sort of general questions are not really what this event is about. If you have those kinds of questions, please direct them to the appropriate executive currently holding the position. And then we will have just sort of a brief closing comments. Again, that should be about like at most 15 minutes. Again, for every candidate, probably about 2 minutes maximum. So I am happy to begin with the introductions. I'm just going to be going down sort of the list that I've been sending out over emails about all the candidates. So we will be beginning with president, administrative chair, communications chair, grievance chair, so on and so forth. Okay. I will also be timing these as well, and I will direct message individuals to let them know that they have a minute left. Okay. Any questions before we begin? Okay. I think we're all good then. So we have our president candidate, Karuna D'Souza. Would you be willing to introduce yourselves to the audience?
Sure. Hi, my name is Karuna D'Souza, and I'm running for president of PSAC 610. I'm a second-year PhD student in films and a graduate teaching assistant. I've been an active member of the union executive for the past 2 years. First as Chief Steward of Arts and Humanities, and subsequently the Racial Equity Chair for the past academic year. I'm also currently the PSAC Ontario Academic Rep. My past achievements include the increased engagement of racial minorities and women in union activities. I've organized an anti-racism webinar for academic unions and currently working on a labor EDI survey with management. I brought the issue of housing to the Social Justice Committee, and together with my colleagues, including Valu and Farshad and George, we won compensation for graduate students being evicted from Bayfield Hall. As president, there are 3 main things I want to focus on. First, I intend to work with the incoming Racial Equity Chair to aggressively combat racism and Islamophobia on campus, so that our members, especially international students, have a work environment free from racism. Second, I want a campaign to build support for a housing subsidy as a bargaining demand in the next round of TA bargaining. This is important as the ongoing housing crisis in Canada has a highly adverse impact on precarious workers, such as our members. Third, we need to keep our employer accountable. Our postdoc members are entering bargaining this year, and I can leverage my strong working relationship with PSAC Ontario and National to ensure that they are supported and provided with all the resources they need for mobilization and bargaining to win a good deal from the university. I also intend to work closely with the newly introduced grievance chair to fight ongoing efforts by the employer to violate the collective agreement. Building upon the work of the current executive, I want to improve the communication between the executive and the members. to increase mobilization so that we can bargain with the university, standing on the strength of our collective. I have faced the administration and stood my ground in many instances during the last 2 years, and I am confident that I am qualified for the position of president, and I am grateful for your support. Thank you. I think we can't hear you, Michael.
Oh, sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know, Karuna. Thank you so much for that presentation and the introduction. Next up, we have our administrative chair candidate, Riley Yost.
Hi, everybody. I am Riley Yost. You were close there, Michael. Riley Yost, I've been the administrative chair for the local for the last 2 years, same time as Karuna. We've been able to do a lot in the last 2 years. I should also mention that I'm a fourth-year PhD student in the Department of Biology. Some of the things we've been able to do in the last 2 years include some administrative accomplishments like getting completely caught up on all of our finances that took a backslide over the past few years and cutting some operating costs for the local. I've also been able to work with our committees, in particular the Finance Committee and the Financial Assistance Committee, to offer 2 new funds with the help of the executive in the past as well, that being the Summer Support Program and the COVID-19 Relief Program. We've also been able to do some work with stakeholders on campus, in particular SOGs, by bringing back some scholarships and some funds and being able to hold some joint events together that will hopefully continue into the future. And so basically my goals moving forward would be to continue to engage with our members, the executive, SOGs, everybody that I work with, engage in positive and productive relationships with them. Another main goal I have would be to upgrade the office equipment. We're in desperate need of new furniture and stuff like that. New computers and stuff like that. And along with that, my second goal would be to come back and phase a return to in-person operations once that is done and we have a much better setup for working in the office. And that's really my main 2 goals. My last one really would just be to have better communication with our stewards to get more information about benefits out there. So overall, 3 main goals. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, Riley. Next up, we have our communications chair candidates. Dika, would you like to present yourself?
Yes, thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Dika. I'm a 3rd-year PhD candidate in the graduate program of neuroscience. I've really been involved in the union for the length of my stay in grad school. One of the first things I did was when I joined grad school was I went to the grad club and I went to the union office, I should say, and I picked up my blue card. In the first instance, my involvement with the union was as one of the stewards for the biological sciences division. And then when the opportunity presented itself, I ran for communications chair, and I've held on to the position for a little over 2 years now. One of the first major challenges that I faced as communications chair was when we had to switch entirely into online communications. Previously, we had to do rallies, and there was some in-person engagement with our members, but then everything had to move online with the pandemic. And this was also coincidental with our round of bargaining for both postdocs and for TAs. And so it was a fairly challenging time, but thankfully, with the kind of engagement that we had with our members and the kind of relationship that we had amongst ourselves as an executive and amongst ourselves as a union, we were able to overcome this challenge. So some other of my responsibilities include being the communications chair. I'm sort of the first point of contact for members. So members who are replying to our emails, asking for clarification, talking about concerns, generally reach out to me first, and I respond to them. I'm also involved in orientation. So for TA Day, I'm involved in basically advertising the benefits that we offer to members, to new GTAs and postdocs. And this year, I've also been involved in organizing town halls and union-related events. meet and greets with other members of the executive, and I think that has gone pretty well. So going forward, I plan to bring the breadth of my experience from my last 2 or 3 years as comms chair to basically help us in to prepare ourselves for our next rounds of bargaining, as well as just to continue engaging with our members, sending out surveys to understand what our members' priorities are for our next rounds of bargaining. We understand that there's a housing crisis that a lot of our members are concerned about. We want to know what else people are interested in us bargaining aggressively in favor of. I also plan to reintroduce a monthly newsletter in which we basically summarize all of our activities for every month. I think my time's up. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Tika. Next up, we have a new position to be voted on for this year, the grievance chair. So let's hear from our candidates for the grievance chair, Wes Robinson.
Thanks, Michael. Hey, everyone. So my name's Wes. I've been involved with this local for 5 years now. And the last 2 years, I've been the president of the local. So definitely we've overcome a lot in these past 2 years. And it's led to the creation of the gender equity officer, the racial equity chair, and now the grievance chair. And I think these were specifically created to fill a hole that the executive really should be focusing on. And so, you know, I'd like to run for this grievance chair position. This is the position that we've now created. And then mainly for the, you know, I personally believe one of the most important things the union can do, there's like 3 things. So first, bargain for benefits, have the most amount of benefits we can give to be able to provide to the members. The second thing is to be able to communicate with the membership, like what are the problems, what can we do to help? And then lastly, and you know, one of the top things is being able to defend the members, being able to hold the university to the collective agreement that we spend so much time bargaining for. And I think in the past, it's been almost a side thing that the president of the local has to do on top of running the rest of the local. And so that's where I think this position really fills that hole. And it's something that I think I'm really eager to get involved with. It'll help, you know, setting up short-term preparation, training for the chief stewards, but also looking at the overarching themes and issues that arise over longer periods of time that we can then use as bargaining demands. So that's my intention going forward into this position.
Thank you very much, Wes. Next, we have our gender equity officer position. We have our candidate, I believe it's here. Yes, Maria, there you are.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Maria Chaudhary. I'm in my 3rd year of PhD in the Department of Chemistry. And since I joined in 2019, that's when the Gender Equity Committee was first established. And I was the secretary for 2 years of the committee. And I have also been the departmental steward for the chemistry department for 2 years. And a fun fact that recently I have been named the Wide Spotlight for the Canadian Society for Chemistry Spotlight Video Initiative. The WIDE stands for Working for Inclusion, Diversity and Equity. So as a GEC secretary, I have organized donation drives for trans communities in Colombia and India. I have also been instrumental in organizing letter writing event on issues pertaining to missing and murdered Indigenous women and Black Lives Matter movement. We have invited speakers from both these communities to make Western University attendees more aware of the situation that was going on in the year 2020. So as we know that Western has secured first position in Canada and across and emerged in the top 3 in the world for sustainability. So Western needs to be more accountable now more than ever for everything that compromises the equity and inclusivity on campus. So my goal is that we bring people from the marginalized communities more into the spotlight and into the leadership positions so that they can be involved in decision-making process, and also they can voice grievances that are being faced by the marginalized communities. I will take every opportunity to voice for lack of sufficient allowance and maternity leaves when the bargaining season comes. And I will ensure that there's safe working space and even housing issues for the marginalized communities are solved. So I will reach out to the Western community and provide a safe space for talking about any issue where gender equality was compromised. And our goal as the GEC, when the GEC was first established, was to make more women and gender non-binary people involved in PSAC and across many leadership positions, be it SOGs or across the university. And I'm happy to say that we have achieved the goal, because previously in 2019, we just had one woman in the executive committee, and now we have more than one, as we can see. So I endeavor to continue doing the work of bringing people from those community out upfront. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Racial Equity Chair and our candidate, Walu.
Hello, everybody. My name is Waliu Alaka. I am vying for the position of Racial Equity Chair. I currently chair the Political Action and Social Justice Committee, which I took over from the Racial Equity Chair, Corona, and I championed the whole advocacy that got us the compensation for students that were evicted from the Bayfield Hall. I've also closely worked with the Racial Equity Chair on the EDI, Labor EDI survey, which is going to go out soon. Working with the Racial Equity Chair, we have also opened various conversations as regards increasing housing on campus and also taking specific percentage of our salaries to go into rent so that we have enough funds to do every other thing and so that grad students can survive. If elected, I plan to follow up on what has been done currently as regarding the housing, keep pushing for more housing for grad students on campus, fight for equity, especially for international students, to ensure that the TA salary is going to be a livable wage, since housing takes about 90% or 80% of the salary currently as it stands. Also, I plan to create a safe space for international students to discuss and talk about racism or Islamophobia, which we know happens on campus and is very underreported. I also intend to look into more programs to ensure that international students can properly integrate to campus. Example is having banks on campus, and that the university should be able to stand by and support international students to get credit card when they come and not leave them to banks and all sort of things, which most international students like myself face. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walu. Next, we have our Chief Steward positions. Let's begin with the Chief Steward Arts and Humanities. We have one candidate for this position. Sanada, is she present currently? Oh, yes, there. Sorry. Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you very much, Michael. I'm Sananda Sahu, and I'm a fourth-year PhD candidate in the Faculty of Information and Media Studies and a TA. I have been an active member of this union since 2018 when I joined the university. And my past union experience has been as a steward of the Media Studies Department for 2018-2019. And 3 years ago, I was in Michael's position as a CRO running the general elections in 2019, where electronic voting was conducted for the first time in the history of this local. As a steward, I held solidarity meetings and kept in touch with all TAs, reminding them of the labor rights and trying to channel their grievances and talk about their concerns. As the Chief Stewards of the Arts and Humanities Division, I intend to increase member participation across the division and ensure that we have membership representation across all the departments. I also want to act as a point person for grievances in my division and advocate for members' interests in my division, especially students who are also parents. My time is up, and thank you very much for supporting me.
Well, thank you very much. Next, we have our Chief Steward of Social Sciences, Atika.
Hello, everyone. My name is Atika Mariam, and I will be running for the Chief Steward for the Social Science Division. I'm currently enrolled and working in Critical Policy, Equity, and Leadership Studies in Faculty of Education. I'm right now in my 3rd year of studies, and I'm currently analyzing the performance-based funding reforms for higher education institutions in Ontario. I'm also working as a teaching assistant in DAN department since 2020. I am also Chief Steward for the Social Science Division for the current academic year. During my tenure as a Chief Steward, I worked and I tried to fill the departmental steward positions. I also encouraged and provided necessary support to the stewards to arrange the solidarity events in cases where there are no stewards. The members have contacted me and I try to direct them to the necessary resources in case of any workplace concerns or policy issues. Some of the concerns that I have tried to provide the support to the students, to the members include discrimination and harassment faced by the members, floater contracts, and overtime payment requests, and the importance of duty specification agreements. I will be running for this position again, and I believe that I'm qualified for this position, and I will be looking forward to your support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tika. Next, we have our Chief Steward for the Physical Sciences, Nima.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Naima Afroz. This year, I'm running for the Chief Steward Physical Sciences. I'm the 3rd year PhD student, PhD candidate in Civil and Environmental Engineering. I'm the member of PSAC from 2019, and last year I ran the position for the position Gender Equity Officer. And from that time, I was little more involved than my previous years with PSAC members, and I was getting know better about the PSAC. So currently, I am also a co-president of Ontario Water Consortium, and I am in the leadership committee. And I am trying to help other students from the universities of Ontario so that they can be a future leader in water sector. So today, like I have categorized my goals in 2 categories: main goal and my specific goals. So my main goals is engaging GTS from the Physical Sciences Department through networking. And for that, I am planning to organize a big networking event so that I can engage more and more people from physical sciences. As I came to know, the physical sciences are underrepresented in PSAC. So my goal is to engage them as much as possible. So I was an international student, and most of the students in physical sciences are international. I became Canadian citizen, and I am aware of all the issues of the international students. So I want to be a support so that they know there is a support in physical science department if they have any problems or issues, GTS. So my detailed objective would be like holding the frequent meetings with GTS, and if they have any issues or something or challenges, so that I can convey that to our grievance chair and president. And I want to engage our GTS in other PSAC committee as there should be bargaining in future. So I will try to engage them in health and safety committee, social justice committee, finance committee, gender equity committee, and any work that GTS do in their TAship, like overtime or any work that is not designated under RA work, I will support them so that they can get paid. I'll be talking with our president and our grievance chair on that. And my main goal, like that I already told that I want to be someone in physical sciences so that all GTS knows if they have any challenges and they have a support so that they can come to me and they can talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next candidates are for the Chief Steward Bioscience positions. We have two candidates. Let's begin with Farshad.
Hi, Michael. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. By all means, go
thank
ahead.
you. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Farshad Ismailian. I'm an Iranian international student. I'm currently in my first year of PhD for chemistry, and I'm running for the Chief Steward of Biological Sciences. In the past few months, as a member of Political Action and Social Justice Committee, I advocated in favor of the graduate students at Bayfield Hall, and I'm glad that through the hard work of Wes, Karuna, and of course Walu, we were able to resolve the issue, I would say somewhat in favor of TAs, but also as someone who is living off campus and dealing with the high amount of rent that we're paying. I know that the housing issues we're not finished with that. So as a member, I would like to, I would say that I'm strongly in favor of establishing funds to help the students deal with the current housing crisis in London. As a Chief Steward, I would like to continue the wonderful work that Abby has been doing, but in some areas, I would like to go a bit further as well. We know that bargaining is approaching, and of course, we need the support of every member if we are to succeed with our demands, and that means both international and local members. But with also the establishment of the grievance chair, I would like to see the union take a more proactive position with regards to grievances. It is great that we talk about benefits. It is great that we give general information to our members, but we should know what is happening in our departments. And in each department, we should know what are the common problems, so we can prepare our members better and deal with the problems in a more focused way. So let me know if you have any questions about my plans and my ideas. So, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Farshad. Next, we have our second candidate for the Chief Steward of Bioscience position, Jordan Vanderberg.
Perfect, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan. I'm a first-year PhD student in the biology department, and I started my undergrad here at Western in 2015, and I've been a graduate teaching assistant here for 3 years. So this past year, I've been a steward for my department, representing and supporting our union members there. But this year I'm running for this Chief Steward of Biological Sciences position because I'd really like to expand and do more to benefit all 15 of the departments within our division. So I know anyone who's spoken with our current Chief Bio Steward, Abby Bayshard, can tell how passionate she is in her role, helping our GTAs and making a difference in their lives. And that is why I'm running for this position. I want to represent and support our biological science GTAs and to be a resource for union-related questions and concerns that they might have. So one of the major goals I have for this position is to increase the outreach within each and every one of the biosci departments. And my intent behind this is twofold. First, many of our members are unaware of some of the benefits and resources that we offer through the union, and they're designed to help them. They're there for a reason. We have funds set aside for that. But some of these funds, especially, some of the money there, or a large portion of that money set aside for those, go unused the past few years. The second intent I have there is to promote community and actively seek out feedback from our union members. So I know the postdocs are, their collective agreement is coming up a little sooner than our GTAs, but our GTAs collective agreement is also coming up for renewal soon. So we really need to actively seek out feedback from our union members. And as Farshad mentioned, get more of them involved. There are many members who just sort of see the PSAC emails and brush them aside or delete them, but we really need our member involvement because we're stronger the more members we have and the more involved they are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jordan. Next, we would have our Chief Steward of Postdocs section, but we have yet to have a candidacy be nominated for such a position. So if you're watching and you know someone who is interested in the position or would like, feel free to contact me at the CRO email, CRO PSAC610@gmail.com. But we'll move on to our final position, the postdoc chair, which we have one candidate for. George, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you very much. So I'm George Departure. I'm a postdoctoral research associate in Department of Surgery at the University Hospital, which is affiliated to the Western University. Well, I've been an active member of the union since last year, and I've been an active member. I've been part of a number of committees in the union, such as the Communication Committee, the Bylaws Committee, the Social Justice Committee, Financial Aid Committee as well. And I'm also the steward for my department, the surgery department here. I'm vying for the position of the the postdoctoral chair. And in this position, I intend to build on the good foundation that was set up by my predecessors, Anil, for example, the outgoing chair. So I basically have two main goals for this position. One is to create more awareness of the union and the benefits that members of the union can derive from the union at the postdoctoral level, which currently seems like the postdocs are underrepresented in the union. So I intend to create more awareness by, for example, organizing events and meetings with postdocs to create awareness of the union, and also liaise with the postdoctoral Western Postdoctoral Association to get more postdocs involved. And I think that another good idea would be to work with Michaela Ramos, who is very actively involved in the appointment of Western postdocs. And I think that with her involvement as well, or with working with her, we will get to inform more postdocs who have been appointed at Western. So by so doing, we will get the union, we will create more awareness. Then my second goal of running for this position is to help identify and solve issues related to postdoctoral work. And there are several issues. I am a postdoc myself in my department, and I'm very much familiar with the problems that postdocs have to go through. So for example, salary. So I intend to be an active member of the bargaining committee so we can discuss further on this. So issue salary, for example, which is a big issue among postdocs. They work very hard, several hours, but earn very, very little, which affects virtually all aspects of their lives. Then another issue is the housing, which we saw was a bigger problem with the graduates and the tiers, and it also affects postdocs as well. Then another aspect is a better health plan for these postdocs. I'm aware that the union has introduced their healthcare plan for its members, and I intend to represent as a chair of the postdocs. I intend to help improve the health plan at the postdoctoral level, and then also to look at the pension scheme that the postdocs have at the moment. There are some members of there are some postdocs who come from countries that do not have bilateral agreement with Canada, and for that matter, the number of years they spend here as postdocs, they are paying pension contributions into the Canadian scheme. However, when their postdocs are over and they return to their home countries, they would have no benefit. So this is going to affect them greatly. Therefore, my intention, my goal, part of my goal is to also work possibly with the with the Service Canada to come into an agreement in how this subpopulation of postdocs who are affected would have access to their pension scheme upon end of their postdoc. These and several other goals that I intend to help at the postdoctoral level. So finally, with all this.
Thank you, George. I think we'll have to move on to questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
There's no problem. All right, so I'll go over real quick again the basic format for questions. Obviously, any member is welcome to open the floor and ask a question. You are welcome to either raise your hand in Zoom and I will call on you, or if you want, you can also post the question in chat. I ask that you direct the question to a specific candidate or candidates, and have your question please be related to the issue of the election or the positions to be held. With that being said, are there any questions for a candidate or any of our candidates that we have here with us today?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how to use the raising hand feature of Zoom.
So. No problem. Go right ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question specifically directed to both the candidates running for the biological sciences chief steward position. And the question is this: so biosciences as a division has a significant chunk of racialized members and international students. What do you think are the problems that they specifically face, and what do you intend to do to help solve those problems if you're elected as the chief steward?
Jordan, would you be okay answering this first?
Absolutely. So I, as not an international student, am not too familiar with the exact specific concerns or issues that these individuals might face, but that's part of the outreach that I've been talking about and getting feedback. Like you mentioned, we have large groups of these members in our biological sciences divisions, and they, again, have some of the similar concerns that other members might have, but it's finding that out and asking them and working with them to see what is possible to do within the scope of this position, and working with the other positions as well to see if anything can be done with that. So yes.
Thank you, Jordan. Farsad, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Aftab. Well, first, I think I should mention that I think that there is another Iranian member here. I would like to recognize that they are here because we make a large portion of the students here. But regarding the problems, well, in the departments that I've checked right now with the students, the problems are very different. For example, there are departments that their issues are just overtime. There are departments that have issues with racism. There are departments that have issues with the unfair treatment of teachers and professors, and how they are handling the students. I would say it is, and I would like to get back to what I said with how we should handle the grievances, because most of the time we're just sitting back and waiting for the students to, some of the students to be fed up with everything, and then they just come forward to us, and then they just say that, okay, we have a problem here and I need to deal with this sort of a grievance. But now we're establishing for the first time the grievance chair. Now it is the time for us to go to them and to tell them what the problems that you're facing. We handle these problems in the specific ways in the union, and we would like to prepare you, inform you, and help you to even as an analogy, I would like to say everyone who is T8 here, our job as a proctor is to prevent cheating. And I think the best thing to handling these sort of ideas is just to prevent them from happening. And that is what happens when you have well-informed membership. I have been the subject of what I would call the nuanced racism here. So I understand what happens there. But unless we engage our local members with the international members and let them know that we are in this together, then nothing can come out of anything else. We just have to make sure that we are all in this together, I think. Thanks.
Thank you, Farshad, for answering the question, as well as for Jordan. And thank you again, Aftab, for asking it. Now, I know, Aftab, you directed these towards the chief stewards of bioscience. However, I would like to, just due to the nature and subject matter of the question, I would like to leave it open for comment to our racial equity chair candidates as well, if they wish to comment on this as well. Balu, you're welcome to if you want to or not.
Thank you very much. Well, as an international student myself, I've been here for just 5 months, and I faced all sorts of things, despite having a wonderful supervisor, by the way. And I feel the best approach for this is always to walk up to the students. It's not so, we don't have to be reactive all the time. Most times, I believe we have to be proactive. We have done that with housing, and we saw that sometimes when you push people, you actually get things done. And we got $3,000 compensation. Most people did not even believe that we're going to get that. And I think it's more about, we just have to identify problems. We have to think about possible solutions. As we all know, the university would not think about solutions for us. And they don't even want to acknowledge or recognize the problem in the first place. So I think it's just taking a more proactive approach, speaking to people, creating avenues or comfortable places for people to express themselves, letting them know the available opportunities and ways to solve these challenges that are problems or that they are possibly facing, and also to let them know that they have the absolute support of the union. We're going to be there for them, we're going to support them, we're going to guide them, and we're going to provide everything, information and support from the local down to the national level to anybody that is having any challenges, and they should always be comfortable to speak out. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Are there any further questions from any members attending, either in chat or over voice? Yes, we have one right here. Go right ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you guys. I do have a question because many of you have mentioned like the issue we are facing with the high prices for like housing, and like we all struggle with that, right? So, and I do thank you for like all the efforts you guys made. I think that's very cool, and I am very grateful. However, I would like to know, like, how are you guys plan to approach this situation? Because it seems to me like with the money we receive, it is just not enough. And the solution like is not just like a compensation or something like that. It's like something has to change. And I know that's like very difficult, but I'm just wondering what's like the approach that should be taken.
Thank you very much. I think it would actually be very appropriate to begin with our presidential candidate, Karuna.
No, first of all, hi, Pilar. It's nice to see you. I think that, there are two things that are there. One is that we approach this as graduate students, which we have done in the past. The second is that we approach it as a union. Now, management generally responds to us as either PAs or as graduate students whenever they feel whatever is applicable or works for them. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is the first thing that we would do is to bring this as a bargaining demand. Now, since we are restricted by Bill 124 to only 1% monetary increases, so one way that we can ask for is to say we need a housing subsidy, which is a monetary amount that we can put and say that, listen, the crisis is going on, so therefore we need this amount for us to be able to live. The second thing is to put pressure on the university to build more housing, which they have shared, in the past that they have plans, but the idea is to continuously put pressure. The third thing is, which I've realized what works, is pressure from the VP of EDI. Because if we take this issue and we say that, listen, this is an EDI issue, because it is about people having, and especially international, especially racialized students having living accommodation that can support them for their studies and whatever their existence. So if they will be disproportionately affected. So we present it in all of these ways, and I'm hoping that one of them will stick, because it has to be some, like, so for currently for the interim, we need some more money basically to pay rent. But in the future, we're looking at more housing. So we have also looked at, let's say, one more possibility, which we've brought up, which the VP of EDI had brought up, which was looking at, let's say, hiring a commercial, not a building, but like already an apartment, like, for example, the Mark or one of those fancy or non-fancy buildings. But the university negotiates with them for a rent that is more suitable to us. So the entire unit. So that's one possibility. So there are different ways that we can kind of put pressure on the university to respond. So that's something that I'm.
Yes, thank you very much, Karuna. Yes, because Pilar, I think your question is so pertinent to the membership generally, I would love to open it up to any candidate that would wish to talk about how they hope to help alleviate members' housing problems. Is there anyone else who would wish to comment on this question further? Yes, Walu.
Yeah, so just to add to what Karuna said, myself and Karuna already opened this discussion with the VP EDI. We spoke a lot about it, and one of the options is to actually get financial subsidy. Another option which we're really trying to push is that the housing should be a particular percentage of our salaries. And I think this would go a long way. We all get about 1,500 monthly, which is not too much, and housing now is about 1,200 to 1,500, which practically means we're spending all our money on accommodation. And so if we can there's a world standard of about less than 40% of your salary should go into housing, so that you have others to pay bills and also get some money to save. So we know the university would not agree to 40%, obviously, but we are hoping to bargain to a reasonable percentage and ensure that grad students, after paying for their accommodation, would also have something substantial enough to actually live rather than just survive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Walu. I think I saw George's hand up as well. If you wish to comment on that question, by all means. Oh, you're still muted.
All right.
Excellent.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think Walu summed up everything. But I was going to mention a housing subsidy. So where also still at the postdoctoral level, which also it's a problem. So I wanted to talk about engaging stakeholders and engaging stakeholders, including the university, to get postdocs and grad students have a housing subsidy, so to make life easier for them, considering that they are less paid or they are underpaid. So this would make a better option for them. So housing subsidy is one of the main ways to go to help solve this problem. All right.
Thank you very much, George. Sorry, Karuna, was there something further that you wish to add on that?
Yeah, just a quick this thing. Also, that I think, one of the main things is that the university has not seen us mobilized enough on this, and I think this is an issue that we can mobilize on. And if we need to strike, if we need to show that this is because this is really one of those things that is survival based, is that this year is what we're looking at in terms of mobilization with this particular issue in mind. So I want a lot of people from the union be more active and understand the logic as to why we are asking and what benefits we will get with this active mobilization. That's all.
Thank you, Karuna. Our communications chair candidate, Dika, go right ahead.
Yeah, so just a quick thing. I wanted to first of all acknowledge all the great points that have been raised. Just a quick thing that I wanted to add as a sort of like a way to address this problem right now, like given the avenues that are available to us, is I think one of the major sort of victims of the housing crisis right now, and this has been sort of alluded to, is international students. So international students who come to Canada and realize that Western doesn't offer enough on-campus housing units that cater for international students or foreign postdocs, and then they fall prey to predatory actors in the housing market. So landlords who charge outrageous rents and sort of just abhorrent living conditions. And I think one way that we can sort of right now address this issue is to sort of put it, sort of make Western know that we would like there to be some sort of priority for international students for on-campus housing, so that at least, if they can spend a year or a couple of years in on-campus housing at Western before sort of being able to go out into, the sort of private market. The point being that perhaps they would understand what to look for, what is a good deal, what is a bad deal, what is a predatory deal. I think that's one way that we can sort of like just at the moment, given the avenues at our disposal, address this issue. So yeah, that's just a quick point that I wanted to make.
Thanks so much, Tika. Now we are coming up on our time, so I think now would actually be a great time to open the floor to any closing comments from our candidates as well. Again, similarly, I think I would like to go down the order and starting with the president and working our way down. And again, feel free to spend, I would say, upwards to about 3 minutes on these. They can be as brief for as long as that as you wish. Oh, sorry, Pilar, did you have a follow-up question with regards to your one on housing? By all means, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, thank you. I mean, this is not about what we were just talking. Thank you all for your answers. This question is for Miriam. And I actually don't know if that's like a relevant question for this situation, but you said that you were organizing donations for trans communities in Colombia as the South American country?
Yes. So previously we had members from Colombia as well and India. So they were, so previously one member came up who was closely involved with an Indian trans community. So when that issue came up, then another member who was Colombian originally, so that person looked up in the internet and they came up with an organization where they had and we had sent money to them, like the organization. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I was also like thinking about like all the answers about like the housing question. I do have a comment, and like it is a special struggle for us international students, because usually, like, of course, like the currency exchange is like just the worst for us and everything. However, and I do appreciate that we and you guys like approach this issue like using that perspective, but I think the problem is for everyone. I have like mostly Canadian friends, and they are also struggling. Like it's not just us international students, and so yeah, it should be something that should be like addressed for everyone. They just don't say much. That's my guess.
Thank you, Pilar.
Thank you.
All right. I think we'll. Yeah. Sorry, Aftab, did you have another question that you wish to ask?
Yes. Since the word strike was mentioned, and I'm a big proponent of strikes, so I just want to know from all the candidates, like, what is your position on strikes? Like, how aggressive do you intend to be as an executive member if you're elected?
Thank you, Aftab. I actually think this would be a great question for closing comments, actually, since we have to go down and hear from all the members anyways. So let's begin with Karuna D'Souza. How would you handle strikes if our collective bargaining came to that?
Western doesn't have a history of strikes, and I think it's about time. I think it's about time that the university knows that we're standing together on something and willing to move. They've been fairly, and I know that the last time around that Western almost went for a strike, but it didn't happen because it was not planned enough. But we have the time right now. We have 1.5 years to be in a strike position that is clear, that where people are on our side. And I think that would really put Western, in a situation where they will have to reassess all of the shitty policies they have right now. Right now, we're really scrounging around, in our bargaining for crumbs, literally crumbs, because we're like, okay, our gains are like $100, our gains are like, 1%. But it is through a strike that we can actually say that, listen, this is what we need for our survival. And I think also Western's painting itself to be one of those most progressive institutions. So they don't want us to do this. So they will find a way to kind of, my past experience with Western has been that if you kind of attack their image, they will find a way to respond this thing. And a strike really attacks them at the core of their progressive image. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Karuna. Riley, as a potential administrative chair, how would you handle the upcoming collective bargaining or the potential of a strike?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. I agree with Karuna. I think we need to be aggressive and we need to absolutely be prepared, because if we're not ready to strike, we are not going to make any ground. It basically comes down to that. So in terms of admin, part of upgrading the office would be to purchase laptops that have enough power to do what we could do from the office, but also have the versatility to grab it and run should we be in a strike. We have the ability now, we'll have the ability, I'm hoping the first week of June, for direct deposit. So if we have to get out quickly, administratively, we should still be able to function as normal. Either working remotely or working from a new office, which we would rent. So that would be my role when it comes down to that. And it is closing statement, so I will also just say thank you all for coming and your support.
Thank you so much, Riley. It's great to hear the perspective of administrative chair in the event of a strike. Next, we have Dika. Again, sort of the same question to you, but as communications chair, how would you go about this?
Yeah, so thanks, Aftab, for that question. I'm 100% in support of pushing as aggressively as possible. And if strike action is what is necessary to get Western to move on some of our demands in the upcoming rounds of bargaining, then I'm very comfortable with that possibility. I think one of the things that we need to emphasize, and I'm glad that Karuna sort of mentioned that one thing that Western cares a lot about is its image, and this image that it has of itself as a progressive university that caters to progressive ideals. I think one of the things that we have going for us as graduate students, as postdocs, is oddly enough the fact that we're in a pandemic right now, and Western will not, even though we try to act as if the pandemic is over, Western sort of does not want its image to be sort of sullied in terms of how it's treating grad students, how it's treating postdocs in the middle of a pandemic. So I think one of the approaches, one of the communications approaches that we need to sort of implement if aggressive strike action is needed, is we need to sort of make clear that the pandemic has not ended, and that students, grad students, TAs, postdocs are still reeling from the effects of the pandemic, and that if Western is not sort of meeting our demands, if Western is not catering to our needs, then that's not a very good look for Western. I also think that communications is a big deal. I was the comms chair during our last 2 rounds of bargaining for both postdocs and GTAs. And I think that communications is a huge deal. We need to make sure that our members understand what we're doing. We need to, if strike action is necessary, we need to make sure that our members are on board with the reason why we're going on strike action. So our priorities need to be communicated back and forth between the executive, the bargaining team, and the members. And everybody needs to be on board, basically. Everybody needs to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And that requires very strong communication both ways. So yeah, I'm very much in support of pushing this as aggressively as we can. We've heard during the course of the last hour, we've heard many people talk about the housing crisis. Many people talk about how, you know, there's a lot of challenges that GTAs and postdocs face, just being in the positions that we're in. And I think that if we just highlight some of these sort of core challenges and highlight Western's insouciance or lack of action to sort of deal with these problems, then strike action would be very successful if we do embark on that. So yeah, thanks.
Thank you so much, Dika. From Wes Robinson, now what would your stance be on potentiality of a strike, or what would you do as a grievance chair during bargaining? And do you have any closing remarks that you would like to offer?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. It's funny when you brought that up, Aftab, it reminded me I was talking to a friend in my lab. Other people were, so I was been here for 5 years, pretty actively involved. And so I've been involved in 2 independent rounds of bargaining for postdocs and TAs. And I was joking with my friend, like, if we don't strike by the time we leave this university, like, come on, man. So I think just seeing from the past examples where we got like close to strike, and like Karuna saying, it was fairly unorganized, but we got very close to striking, and seeing how much the university moved towards our position just on the chance of a strike. I'm actually very curious to see how much they're going to move when we do actually strike, and we can be organized with our own union, organized within ourselves. So I am all for it. Let's do it. I think I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thanks so much, Wes. Maria, sort of the same question to you, closing remarks, but also your opinions on the question posed by Aftab.
So going by what Karuna and Dika said, that Western is more concerned about their image, and now that Western is the ambassador of sustainability, it's a high time that we can bring about some change in this housing and solve some crisis when housing comes. And I think that during pandemic, all these women and gender non-binary people have been greatly hit because of working in insecure labor markets and whatnot. So I think the high housing prices and being international students and people from marginalized communities, it's high time that I, along with the committee that I'm going to set up, if I'm to become the gender equity officer, I'm going to definitely be proactive in doing any kind of strike that's needed for Western to listen to what we have to ask and demand.
Thank you so much, Maria. Again, same question posed to Walu. Thoughts on potentiality of a strike, collective bargaining, and any closing remarks?
Thank you very much, Michael. I've been here for 5 months. I've schooled at 2 different continents. And I like to say Western is of the lowest standard so far, honestly speaking. I've been to Germany and I schooled in Nigeria. And I think a strike is absolutely needed if Western does not budge. And I feel we have actually built a momentum. Myself, Karuna, Wes, and Fashad, and other members of my committee are well aware that we actually planned something very serious if Western had not budged as regarding the housing issues. And we created a Twitter account where we sent out a couple of tweets, which Western first ignored, then later acknowledged, which is quite funny for a university that tries to portray an equitable and sustainable environment. So I think we've built on the momentum. We were willing to go all out, and it's not something I want to talk about, but we're willing to go all out. And I felt, or I still feel, what we wanted to do would have been worse than a strike, in all honesty. This would have damaged Western's reputation totally. So I'm all out for a strike. I think it is absolutely needed. I understand international students are somewhat scared about their visa requirements and all. And with the comms chair, I feel this is something we're going to work with. We're going to educate them. We're going to let them know that this is a stand by the whole university. if they are going to take one of us away, then they have to take all of us away. And I know Western would definitely want to portray themselves as a very comfortable, supporting environment. And I'm very sure they will budge. So, and I think a strike is needed. I'm surprised West has been here for 5 years without a strike. That is new. Anyways, as my closing remark, I want to say I would appreciate everybody's support. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Walu. Next, let's hear from our chief stewards. Let's begin with Sananda.
Hi, thank
Yes.
you. Thank you, Michael, and thanks, Aftab, for the question. You might call me a Luddite, but I'm very much in support of strikes, especially when we're coming up in the bargaining year, bargaining for not for crumbs, but for really substantial increase to our TA funding and WGRS. Over the past 4 years, I've seen WGRS funding being clawed back rather than keeping up with the rate of inflation here. And when it comes to all of us as talking about housing, and especially for TAs who are also parents, we know how difficult it has been in the last 2 years working from home. And we just cannot move out of our our apartments or the graduate student housing here because of the high rents outside Platts Lane, for instance. So these are the two issues I think we should bargain for strongly. And if possible, I am all for, I want to go on a strike with other members on these two issues, especially. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Atika, any closing remarks or comments or answers to Aftab's earlier question?
Thank you, Michael. So if you talk about the strikes, it's a great question. If you talk about the strikes, an important thing about strike is that strike can be an outcome of a failed or broken down negotiation when you're not really able to reach to a settlement collective bargaining agreement. And at the same time, it can be used as a tool or a process to achieve your bargaining goals. So it gives you a lot of power. I did remember back in winter in 2022, OPSU entered, they basically call to go on to the strike, there was in Ontario, against College Employer Council. And they did say that they will go on to the strike. They were not really able to reach to the settlement. And then they say that they will be going to the strike. And then they also taken the mediation and conciliation, but still they were not really able to reach to the settlement. And then a night before they were supposed to go on to the strike, OPSU said that they are willing for binding arbitration. So that is the power of strike. And it definitely gives you gives a union a lot of strength. So I will be definitely in support of strike, whether it's a lesser aggressive strike or a more aggressive strike, it gives union power. And yeah, as of the closing remark, I would like to say I'm Muslim, I'm an immigrant, I'm mother of 2 kids. I understand the problems which the students face when they come to Canada to study, especially with their kids and family. They're not aware of their rights. They face a lot in the transition phase. So I've been there and I know that struggle. It's very important that you have somebody in the union who you can talk to. And I will definitely be working for creating the awareness of the rights which they can avail, or the importance of the collective bargaining agreement. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks so much, Atika. We'll then move on to our Chief Steward of Physical Sciences candidate, Nima.
Thank you, Michael. I'm seeing like all of us is in support of a strike, me as well. But my understanding here, like as Western is more concerned about their image, we might not go that hard step. But of course, I am with all of my fellow candidates here, and I will support and I will talk with my GTS in my department or in my division so that they can be prepared for it. If we need the strike for this, they can be prepared for it. And I agree that like this housing, like mostly housing subsidy is needed basically because the house rent is really increased, and I personally is also affected by this. So I am also supporting like all of the members here for this strike. And thank you, Aptab. This is a very good question. This is a very, very, what can I say, hard question, but it is a good question. Yes, I'll prepare for that.
Thank you so much. Next, we have our two candidates for the Chief Steward of Bioscience, Farshad. Closing remarks or any answers to Aftab's questions?
Okay, well, first, let me just say, I have to add this to PR because the currency exchange rate, yeah, I'm from Iran, so just tell me about it, right? So in our election sort of poster that we're circulating, we are all saying that we should hold the employee accountable, but we are accountable too, right? We are responsible for our members, and we are saying, always saying that Karuna, at least, always saying that solidarity is a verb, right? And everyone who has met me knows that when I talk about engaging with the with our members, I always say that we should show them that we care. And if we're not prepared to go all the way, if we are not prepared to do all we can, then how are we just saying that we care? How do we show that we care? So yes, I'm all in for it. And for my closing remarks, I would like to say that yes, the bargaining is close. University has been doing this for a long time. They have the experience, but we need to be a bit more smarter, a bit smarter in our approach. And we may only have each other, the students, but as long as we're informed and engaged, that will be more than enough. And echoing what Wes told me the other day in our chat, a well-informed membership is an effective membership. The good thing is that you can see that everyone here comes from different backgrounds, different worldviews, but we have shown that we can work together and that we can get results. So if you trust us with this position, I'm sure that we can do much more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Farshad. Next, Jordan.
Thank you. So on the topic of strikes, I don't believe the GTA strike would be really in the cards until the next academic year when new candidates would be voted for and in, but including with the postdocs here, I'm in favor of a strike if it gets what the bargaining demands that we need and absolutely deserve. And I was an undergrad at Western the last time a strike occurred. I believe it was 2017, 2018, somewhere in that range. And I can vouch for how effective it was on our end, which led to major pressure being applied to the university, which is what we want. That's part of the goal of the strike there. So we would also want to have to take some extra care, specifically with our most vulnerable members, to make sure that they're still getting what they need, even while the strike actions are occurring. Overall, for the Chief Biology Steward position, I know I keep coming back to this, but we really need to improve our outreach, feedback, and participation of our members in the union. I myself am a local, white, queer male in the biology department, and that's where my personal experience comes from. So as has been stated, we have a wide range of diversity, not only across campus, but within our biosci division as well. So the same way other members of the union won't have a solid grasp of my experience as a queer grad student, we can only really get a full idea of the struggles and needs of our members by seeking them out and asking for them, by sharing our experiences. And that's the only way we can really understand, represent, and support all of the members of our union. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jordan. And thank you so much for that clarification in the chat, Aftab. Very welcome. Finally, we have George.
Thank you very much, CRO. Well, I'm in full support of strike action as long as it's legitimate, as long as it's legal, and after all other internal avenues have been exhausted, and still the authorities do not want to listen, then I fully am in support. I'm in support of it, and I think that strike action has become the usual language that most institutions like Western understands, and usually they will, as others have said, they would attend to it immediately in order to save their reputation or to save their reputation. So as long as it's legitimate and all other means, all other internal avenues have been exhausted, I am fully in support of it, with the hope that the grievances of the members will be met. Then to sum it all, I would like to thank everyone for coming and for supporting us. And I look forward to all of us being elected and working together happily to drive the goal of the union to where it's supposed to be. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. I would like to sort of wrap up and I guess end this wonderful little Q&A meet and greet that we had with by expressing a similar sentiment. Thank you all very much for coming. You helped make this a great event, and one that will hopefully benefit all of the membership going into the election next week at 6 p.m. If you're a member of the union who has currently watching or watching later as a recording on our social media, then I would strongly encourage, if you have not yet, to check your emails. We are sending out regular calls for candidates, so you are welcome to nominate yourself for a candidate position. And just as well, you are also strongly encouraged to pre-register for voting. You really must register. It's important for us to know which members can vote for which positions, such as chief stewards or racial equity and gender equity chair. It's also important that you register so that you can give us your address so that we know where to send $20 for you if you attend the election. So that's always a good motivator, I find. All right. Thank you all so much. You helped make this a wonderful event. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions, either about the election or the process that is going on, whether member or candidate. So again, thank you all.
Okay. Bye-bye. Have a nice evening, all of you.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks.